We'd like to start by reciting the Pledge of Allegiance, please, if you'll stand. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you all. And Mr. Dale, if you would take the roll, please.
Yes, Amanda Miller.
Present.
Josh Fedor.
Present.
Jim Hurst.
Present.
Kathy Postleway.
Present.
Josh Martin. Absent.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Dale. I'm hopeful that you've all had a chance to look at the minutes from the November meeting. Are there any additions or corrections to the minutes?
I move we accept the minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Hurst. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Ms. Fedor. Any further discussion? If not, and all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you. Minutes are accepted as written. Mr. Smith, the first item on our agenda is docket number 2025-40-UV, which is a continuance. Do you have any comment about that?
No, the petitioner has the right in our rules to request a continuance. They're exercising that right. I know there was some items that came up that they wanted time to address. So I believe they're working through those items. This has been put on the January 7th agenda. So yeah, that's it. They're just exercising their right to a continuance.
We need to move to continue it?
I believe they've advertised it.
Yes,
so
thank
they
you.
would need to.
Do we have a motion to continue docket number 2025-40-UV?
So moved. Second.
Thank you, Mr. Hurst, Mr. Fedor. Any further discussion? All in favor with aye?
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you. That will be continued until the January meeting. The next item on our agenda, new business, is docket number 2025-38-SE. Tonya Payton. Is Ms. Payton here in the room? All right, thank you. We'll start with the staff report, and then after we've had the staff report, then you will address the board. Thank you. Mr. Smith?
Yes, ma'am. You may recognize this parcel, this address, this piece of land was before the BZA maybe 2 to 3 months ago. Different petitioner at that time, Vanderbilt Commercial. This is the same piece of property. To give a more in-depth history, the current owner is operating a landscape business from this location that was approved, I'm going to say 20 or 30 years ago under the jurisdiction of Boone County. That special exception was approved. He's been operating from this location. As he tries to sell, we've been talking to various buyers. This petitioner came to us maybe a couple, 3 months ago with their petition. We took a look at what they were proposing, and staff determined that it was not exactly apples to apples compared to what was currently operating under the Boone County approval. Because it wasn't an apples to apples comparison, it was determined they needed to come before you guys to get a new special exception to approve this use. I've pulled up the conceptual layout that shows, again, this is very conceptual, this is not finalized, but it shows kind of a general idea of what they're proposing on this site. And I apologize, it got kind of blurry when I zoomed in. I have paper copies in my office if I need to go get them. But this is a 2,400 square foot office space here in the front. And then there will be a 9,600 square foot, they're calling it a shop. I think it's more like a pole barn type of thing. And then in the back, there'll be two hoop houses that are both 9,600. If you were to be able to read those numbers, it would be 9,600 square feet each for the two hoop houses. And then in the middle, you'll see this will be the stockpile of wood, concrete, etc. Again, this is not apples to apples to what is currently operating, which is why they are here tonight getting the special exception. This also We're not going to discuss it as part of this petition, but this does have a companion petition. There is as part of their proposal, a component of retail. They don't currently offer retail services, but in the future, their business, if everything goes well, they would like to be able to expand and incorporate that use. The retail part would be located up in the front here. The materials would be stored in these little bins, and individuals would drive in, load up the material, and then drive away. But again, we'll talk about that as part of the companion petition, which is 39, the next petition on the agenda. This one, landscape contractor in ag, that requires a special exception. This is roughly 25 to 26 acres. I've already talked about the history to this, so I'm not going to go into that. You can see the surrounding land uses. If you go to the zoning map, the property is surrounded by ag-zoned properties. While they are zoned ag, the properties directly north here and south are single-family residential homes. To skip through to our analysis, the zoning, we took a look at the zoning, site features, the comprehensive plan, driveway locations. All of this is spoken or addressed in the staff report to save time. I'm happy to answer any questions specifically that you would have, but I want to make sure we put staff's opinion as far as the findings of fact on record, so if there's any questions, I'm happy to answer those. As far as the questions that we have to answer for a special exception, there are 3 of them. The proposed use, number 1, the proposed use will not be injurious to public health, safety, comfort, community, moral standards, convenience, or general welfare. As it relates to this question, staff agrees with the petitioner. Granting this request will not be injurious to public health or safety. The petitioner is limiting their hours of operation, and they're also limiting the use of loud equipment to the hours set by BZA as a condition of approval. Additionally, they are proposing enhanced buffering along all 4 property lines. Lastly, the project is subject to development plan approval, which means they must meet minimum standards in the zoning ordinance, fire code, and building code, all of which are designed with public health and safety in mind. For those reasons, staff believes this criteria was met. That's criteria number 1. Criteria number 2, the use will not injure or adversely affect adjacent area or property values. Staff agrees with the petitioner on this criteria. The use of the property is not changing. They exceed minimum buffer yard requirements, and the proposed improvements to this site should add value to the site. Because of this, we don't anticipate adjoining properties having an adverse impact as far as property values. Additionally, surrounding neighbors were notified. This part was wrote prior to today. I got a couple of letters actually from neighbors that I've provided to y'all guys. That's what I was handing out. The staff report says at this time we had not received any letters of remonstrance. Again, I need to update that and correct that because I did receive 2 letters this afternoon that I printed off and gave to y'all because I did not have time to update the agenda. Number 3, the proposed use will be consistent with the character of the district, land uses authorized therein, and the town's comprehensive plan. This is really where staff disagreed with the petitioner. The proposed use will not be consistent with the character of the district, land uses authorized therein, and the town's comprehensive plan. The intent of ag zoning is to preserve farmland and establish continuous parcels of non-residential land. If this use is approved, a field that has historically been used for farming would be used for stockpiling wood, concrete, and soil as shown on their conceptual layout. That's not the preservation of farmland, which is why staff believes this request is contrary to the intent of ag zoning. Additionally, the airport area strategic land use plan identifies this area as an ag district with the intent to maintain existing ag uses north of 32 for the foreseeable future. The zoning ordinance defined as an ag use as an operation which consists of the following individually or in combination. the production of grain or livestock, forest or tree production, pasture, setting aside land in a government set-aside reserve program, a farmstead, uses accessory to ag operations on site or uses accessory to ag operations in the area. Again, that's defined in our zoning ordinance. Based off that definition, staff determined this operation is not agricultural in nature and does not align with the recommendations of the land use plan. For these reasons, staff believes this criteria was not met. So to summarize, 3 questions we have to answer. Staff does not believe number 3 was answered. For that reason, we do not support this request. If there's any specific questions you have, I'm happy to answer them. Otherwise, to save time, I'll turn it back over to y'all guys.
Thank you, Mr. Smith. Are there any questions for staff about this petition in the staff report?
You had mentioned the building sizes being 9,600 square feet, and in the petitioner's narrative, it said 96,000 square feet. I'm assuming that's a typo?
Yeah, that would be a typo.
Okay.
I will let them clarify if it's not, but I operated off an assumption that it was a typo, and it was actually 9,600.
Further questions?
Not at this time.
I'll ask the petitioner to come to the podium, please, and give your name and address.
Is this for a presentation? Yep. Okay, let me give this to IT real quick so they can.
I will remind everyone in the audience that if you'd like to speak, there's a sign-up sheet at the door.
Hi there. Thank you.
What I'm handing out to you is the addendum to our original submittal with updates and following our meeting with Ready for me? Is this going?
Yes, give your name and address, please.
Yes, for the record, well, first of all, thank you, board, Jonathan, members of the audience. For the record, my name is Melody Jones. I'm a real estate agent with the F.C. Tucker Company located at 350 Veterans Way in Carmel. I represent Tanya and Brad Payton in the purchase of this property and are representing them here tonight. I want to thank you for the opportunity to share some additional details with you regarding the special exception and the variance of use, which I know we'll get to later. First of all, I want to give you just a little bit of background. Jonathan gave you some details, but I would like to take that a step further. Mr. Aaron, who is the current owner of the property, received approval from the Boone County BZA in 2005. At that meeting, the BZA had no concerns about what he was going to do there, but they wanted to make sure he complied with drainage and lighting. And they did also approve for him to build a residence and put in a septic and a well. He never did put in the septic, but the well is present. We asked to have him provide us, because there were very little details out of the Boone County records as to what was approved for the site. So we asked for him to provide what currently he did there. He did provide us with what operations he ran at that location, the number of employees he had, and the equipment that he used. That information is in your original packet. So moving forward, 20 plus years, we now have this property falling under your jurisdiction. The Paytons and I met with Jonathan a month and a half, 2 months ago, to talk about what this would take to move forward. It was determined at that time that the Paytons would need to seek an additional special exception variance to bring their landscaping business to this location. I want to just add, when Boone County gave approval to Mr. Aaron, it was to run with the land, but it wasn't very clear in the explanation as to what was approved and what was not approved. So it was determined that we would need to seek this variance for a landscaping business at that location, and we needed to be very clear in what those details would be. We have been very specific in our submittal, and the reason for tonight is to clarify all of this with you. So on November 20th, we met with neighbors. We had 9 attendees at that meeting. The Paytons answered questions. We gave them a presentation, and we thanked them for coming. Based on what we heard from the folks that are adjacent. It was our understanding that, that some of their things that they were concerned about we wanted to address, and that's why we did an addendum. So I'd like to share some of that with you. You see the site plan. I do want to note that the staff's comments were based on the original submittal, not the addendum. They did not have time to review that prior to getting the packets out to you. So their comments are reflective of what we submitted originally before we worked through things with Jonathan or met with the neighbors. The Paytons are committed to meeting all development standards that the town of Zionsville, Boone County, or the state of Indiana have. And we understand that if a variance is approved, we do need to come back to the Plan Commission for approval of the site design. The Paytons feel that this location is ideal for the expansion of their needs so that they can grow their business. And they're willing to do major improvements at the site. If you look at the site plan, you'll notice, well, I think you can tell what they are. They will be planting trees along both the north boundary and the south boundary to give additional buffering that does not exist there now. They're committed to planting green giant arborvitae, and Brad noted that these trees will grow 2 to 3 feet a year. The existing tree stand on the north side of the property will remain. That was the original tree farm that Mr. Aaron planted. And the buffer to the north is the existing woods. Much of that will remain just as it is today. Enhancements will be made to the existing building, improvements on the outside for an aesthetic reason, and the building will be renovated to include office spaces and restrooms. Currently, the only person that would probably use that as an office would be the landscaping manager. He works out of his truck now, so it'd be nice if he could have a desk and a place to do that. The Paytons are proposing to enhance the entrance of the property. This includes paving the access road, installing landscaping at the entrance, a paved parking lot, and a gate. They will comply with all regulations that Zionsville has. If we move forward with the use variance and you allow bulk sales at the property, that's when they would like to put in signage, again, following all of Zionsville's regulations for that. And then at that point, 2 additional gates will be put on so that public would not be able to drive back into the property. One of those drives goes back to the pole barn. We're back on the landscaping, or the main plan, you could see that, would go back to the pole barn. Now, that rendering that we included is just a concept. That particular one was 9,600 square feet, but we will build whatever we have to build. The main thing that building will be used for is storage of equipment and provide a location to be able to maintain equipment inside instead of doing everything outside. So you saw the barn, I guess. They will also adhere to any lighting standards. They don't plan on doing any dusk to dawn lighting on the property. It's really just building lighting that would be required. And on this one, of course, you can see that they do lighting over the doorways. We assume that that would be the case. A second drive goes all the way to the back, to the west side of the property, where the hoop houses are. And those are designed and necessary to keep soil dry. The size that we quoted in the original submittal can vary. The hoop houses come in multiple sizes, as Brad was confirming with me earlier. So those are designed, there's 3 different concepts of those. That one's really hard to see. But as you can see, it's just a big covering that would literally keep the soil dry, so it can be used. In addition, they're requesting to do bulk storage bins at the front of the property. This is where, if you approve us to do sales, this is what they look like. They're just concrete block bins, which you would have the different types of mulch in and other landscaping materials. So that's what the bins look like. There is no desire to do a garden center or selling anything in a garden center or any plant material, if you agree to do bulk sales, it's strictly landscaping things that I just mentioned: mulch, stone, rock, the other things that you would use for hardscape. There would be no porta potty on site, no garden center. They would be putting in a septic system because that was not put in previously. So we'll talk about the variance of use later, I know. So all the remaining unused land at the north, when we did the graphic, go back one. When we did the graphic, I don't know why they're all crooked, they were put in there straight. We just put storage area and stockpiling as a header or a placeholder, and it's in the middle of the property. That really is going to be much, much closer to the hoop houses. They don't want to take things way across. Now, as the business grows and they need more room, that could change. But that property right now, that big open space, is currently being farmed. As a matter of fact, it's being farmed by Brad's brother, Mike, and has been for many, many years. There's no change in that decision until such time as they don't need the land, or they would be using the land for something else. But this is a really big property, so we don't foresee that happening in the very near future. We also need to confirm that there are 2 drainage easements on the property. When we talked with Mr. Aaron, he doesn't believe there is. Brad has reached out both to the Boone County Surveyor's Office and the Hamilton County Surveyor's Office and talked to them about that. So we still need to work through that. Apparently no one's 100% sure, and Brad could probably talk to that when he has a chance to chat. But we will work on that and make sure that it follows all of their guidelines. As a matter of fact, Brad's business does a lot of this type of work for businesses and farmers and residential development. So he's no stranger to taking care of drainage properly. Every effort will be made to be good neighbors. The Paytons agreed to during their primary season, which is spring through fall, to limit their hours on Monday through Saturday from 7 to 7. Employees begin their days by coming to the site, picking up the equipment and the materials, and then they leave to go do their job. They may come and go during the day, but all of the work that they're doing is off-premise. Landscaping is where the landscaping needs to take place. So this is really going to see very little traffic at this location. Currently, the Wilkins Landscaping Company has 5 employees, so not a large staff. Mr. Aaron was approved up to 12. We don't really see 12 in the near future at all, maybe never. If retail sales are allowed, there would be staff hired to just man that office and take care of folks. Those hours, would be posted as to when they're available to be bought. During our meeting with the neighbors, one of the concerns that came up with was noise. So in your packet, we wanted to talk about the equipment. So the commitments to limit operation of the following equipment on site, Monday through Friday, we talked about 7 a.m. to 6 p.m. And those pieces of equipment would include a Caterpillar, it's a D5K2 dozer, Bobcat T770, a medium tub grinder, a topsoil trommel, and a concrete crusher. There's more details in your packet about what all those pieces of equipment are. And you'll also find in your packet some maps. And these are screenshots of the neighbors on all 4 sides and how far away they are from the equipment staging area. There's only one that was less than 900 feet. And there's also an explanation in your packet about how they measure sound. This is all new to me. It's dB and dBA, and those standards are uniform, and it talks about what those are. With each of the neighbors, you can see that there will be minimal noise impact on anybody because of location, distance, as well as buffering, and as well as this equipment will be ran on soft surfaces, which, believe it or not, makes a big difference. The property is also located in the Airport Area Strategic Land Use Plan. And this plan was adopted on the 18th of January in 2022. The plan addresses current land use and what the proposed area surrounding the airport. A copy of the plan was in your original packet. So, Jonathan, can you show the map, the one that you provided to me, please? So we believe that this property falls into two tiers, Tier 4, and Tier 1. And Jonathan was nice enough to scale that out. It's on the thumb drive. Should be the last one.
I'm going to let IT go to the, IT's running the PowerPoint for you.
Oh, hi, IT. The man behind the wall. There you go. Okay. So the blue area is, which contains basically a third of the property on the west side of the property. That is in Tier 1. That shows up in blue. And then the remainder of the property is in what we consider Tier 4. If you're reading the plan, on page 77, the statistical plan addresses agricultural land north of State Road 32. And then on 78 and 79, the plan addresses the airport-compatible land uses. That is an outline of the airport's compatible land uses in states. And I'm going to quote the report. The goal of this plan is to identify strategies that allows Zionsville to grow while protecting and enhancing the airport. Central to this goal is identifying what type of development is complementary to airport operations and what causes conflicts. In the airport analysis chapter, the following potential conflict uses are identified: tall structures, vegetation. This includes buildings, vegetation, towers, wind turbines, etc. Density, concentration of people, theaters, hospitals, schools, churches, etc. Noise sensitivity, residential, schools, churches, etc. Visual obstructions, steam, light, glare, etc. Wildlife attraction, sources of food, water, and shelter. Based on these factors, it is important that most commercial and light industry would be complementary uses as long as they do not provide light, glare, steam, or concentrations of people or attract wildlife. Similarly, most agricultural operations are compatible with an airport as long as they do not produce steam, light, and glare, and use of best management practices to reduce wildlife attraction. On the other hand, traditional subdivision, single-family residential is not considered compatible because of noise sensitivity, end quote. So in the last 5 years, after this plan was adopted, there's a lot of things that have changed around the airport. Number one, they're going to be putting in a runway. Number two, they have permission and are building a new customs office, meaning international flights will be coming to the Indiana Executive Airport. I do believe that this may also create more businesses growth around the international airport. You've got Westfield knocking on your door at the east, and Sheridan is starting to really develop to the north. So in my opinion, that plan may have to get updated relatively soon. I also would like to talk about staff's comments. So as Jonathan shared with you, they were in agreement with number 1 and number 2 that this project would not adversely affect property values or the neighbors or cause any injury or health or discomfort. But they did think that number 3 was the fact that we were not consistent with the character of the district. We believe it already complies, as there is a landscaping business that has operated at this location for over 20 years. They are correct that it's not preserving overall farmland, but it is preserving a big chunk that we will continue to have farmed for the time that is necessary. But most importantly, the point in asking for a special exception is that it doesn't fit the underlying zoning ordinance. So I think that's the whole point of the BZA. So I would like to just specify that if a landscaping business is not allowed in agricultural zoning, we wouldn't be here tonight if it was. So that's why we need a special exception. The airport strategic plan also discourages subdivisions and recommends acreage minimums to be 10 to 20 acres per lot in this area. So with a good 1/3 of the property being in Tier 1, we feel that all of the properties should be considered Tier 1, in which this proposal would fit. We respectfully disagree with Jonathan and staff's comments about that. We think this is a great fit for this location. And I'd like to add another comment. So, we all love having our businesses beautifully landscaped, our homes landscaped, but yet we're looking at not allowing landscaping businesses within Boone County. So if not here, where it's operated for over 20 years, where? Because if they can't be here, the businesses are going to have to go somewhere else, and we're not going to have the services available to us. The Paytons respectfully asked for a favorable decision regarding their business to be relocated to 526 North, 1200 East. And Brad and Tanya Payton are here to answer any other questions you might have.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Are there questions for the petitioner?
Not at this time yet. I'll let them continue.
Thank you.
I have some questions.
Of me or of them?
Either, whoever can answer them.
You wanna come up?
I'll tell you what my questions are, and you see who can answer them
Okay.
for me. Thank you. I read with interest your petition, and I have some questions about some of the numbers that you have. You've mentioned here in two places, you have the hours of operation, in one case, 7 a.m. to 9 p.m., Monday through Saturday. Another place, 7 a.m. to 7 p.m., Monday through Saturday. Which of those is closer to what your hours of operation would be?
I'm sorry, which were?
Well,
What were the two?
in one place, you say 7 to 9, Monday through Saturday, and a second place, you say 7 to 7, Monday through Saturday. Which of those is correct?
So 7 to 7.
Okay.
That's part of the addendum. That was this.
Well, I think we have the addendum in I think it was sent to us digitally already, so we've had that in hand, I think. So there were two different numbers there. I also read that there would be something like 1,000 large trucks per year that would be accessing the property. Is that correct?
Yes.
All right, and your year is essentially spring and summer, so we would be talking about maybe 8 months a year. So 1,000 trucks over the course of that 8-month period coming in and out of the property.
Correct.
All right, and they would be dropping off, for example, if you have a concrete crusher, I'm assuming you're taking concrete up from various locations and bringing them out to that property in a big truck in order to be staged and later crushed. Is that correct?
That is correct.
And other things that would be on those trucks would be other types of landscaping waste,
Yes. Dirt,
brush, dirt,
brush, yes.
and so on. So, and the other question I have for you has to do with the heavy equipment that you've listed, besides the dozer and the Bobcat and so on. You're talking about a concrete crusher and a chipper, and where would those be located on the property?
The very back, close to the hoop house.
Okay, and you've given us some information regarding the decibel, the noise factor. Could you tell me how those numbers were generated? Because it looks to me like it's AI on the internet, is that right? Okay, so you haven't done testing to see whether your equipment actually those are accurate?
We actually don't own a crusher. We don't own a grinder. We don't know if we're ever going to need one, so I can't do those tests on equipment. Not sure if we ever will even get to this point, but when we came and talked to Jonathan in the beginning, we were asking for a lot less. And then now that we have to come here and do all this, I said, why don't we just go for what we may do in the future as well? So I don't know if I'll ever crush concrete. I don't know if I'll ever make mulch there, but we wanted the opportunity to do that if we were coming here. We wanted to present it just in case we ever did.
Okay, and you would understand that in our decision-making, we have to assume that you that you are going to be doing those things, correct? Okay.
I have done some testing on concrete crushing before, and I have videos of it. I didn't provide those, but it is 60, in our testing, we did 65 decibels on that. So I have done some testing, and that was at a range of 400 feet. So I know you don't have that.
This
Might
sort of
not be able to
implies,
use that.
this sort of implies it's like having a quiet conversation with somebody.
I think
At
that was at
900
900 feet.
Yeah, which seems a little difficult for me to believe that that's the case. So, but I don't know what the source is of this information, whether it's based on tests or if it's AI, then it's,
So I don't know how AI gets that, but
Yeah.
yes.
There
It
are
is.
comparisons with, I believe, a study that was done with Purdue that compares the takeoff of some of the jets that would be taking off nearby, which is over 151 decibels for takeoff noise.
at the airport.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah. And you also mentioned that you would be continuing to farm on the property, is that right?
My brother.
And so that area that is now being farmed would continue to be farmed?
Until, yes, and it would be, but if we ever did, say, started to make mulch and crush concrete, things like that, we would use part of that land for stockpiling. So it would erode some of the farming away. But we would like to keep, yes, him farming as much as we can.
So there's one other question, and that has to do with lighting, because you mentioned that there would only be lighting, downlight, I'm assuming you're talking about downlighting on the doors of your barn. You would not have any lighting for security? You wouldn't be worried about having the equipment on that property without any lighting or fencing?
Our equipment's on sites every day. There's GPS on them anymore. I can pull up on my phone right now and tell you how many hours are on each piece of our equipment and exactly where it's located. I'm not too concerned. We're not in Indianapolis, we're in Zionsville, so I
Right, no, I
feel
understand.
pretty good about it, to be
Yeah.
honest, but yeah.
Okay. Anyone else have any questions?
Yeah. Yeah, a few of your questions and answers have now asked me a few more questions, or a few more things that popped up. So, you're not intending on crushing concrete at this time, so you're gonna bring concrete in, just leave it sitting back there? How big of an area are you designating for concrete? How big of an area are you gonna be designating for tree waste? I mean, this is a large lot, 25 acres, but the back third of it is wooded already, and I would assume you're not going to take the woods out. How big of an area are we talking about a 1 acre concrete pile? Are we talking about, tell me what size lots or areas am I thinking here?
So we're not planning on taking concrete right away. I think that was your first question, right?
One of my larger concerns, yes.
Yeah, so don't have any plans to do that right away. Not sure if we ever will again. But if we did, I would say an acre seems to be quite large to me for what we would need. So I guess getting back to your first question, no, we're not going to start actively bringing concrete in, piling it up, and waiting for a long time, piled up piles of concrete to get rid of them. Whatever, 3 years down the road, we go, hey, we got a lot of concrete, let's crush it. That's not our goal. And don't have that plan right now either, so to do that. And as far as an acreage area, I really don't know. It's not really territory I've done before, to be honest. It very well could be a flop. May not be something that we can do. Concrete crushers are about $600,000, so, if I'm
Most
coming-
people rent them, don't they? When they need them, they'll rent them and bring them into the site for a month or two and then take them off site. Is that generally how that works?
And that would probably be the way to do it, would be to hire it out, in my opinion, so.
What are the heights of the hoop houses? How tall are these hoop houses going to be?
They're about 30, 35 feet tall in the air at the point of them.
But you would comply with whatever the,
I'm guessing if we can even build them, I'm not sure if we can even get to that point with the planning department.
And for your retail sales products, we're talking strictly bulk landscaping products, correct?
Correct.
Okay. Most of what you're going to be bringing in is, you talk about bringing dirt in, and you're talking about bringing in concrete, you're talking about bringing in tree waste. And I understand you're going to eventually going to grind some of the tree waste and try to make mulch out of that. So I can see where you're going to have some product that's coming in that you're going to manufacture that you're going to sell. I'm trying to get my head around how this is not going to become a clean fill site and not a land and maintain a landscaping center, because when you're saying concrete, large piles of dirt, tree waste, all those sound more to me like a clean fill site rather than a landscaping business. So that's one of my larger concerns. What's your plans for the roadway? Because we do have one of these sites on the west side of Zionsville over here on 650 East. If you're north of Whitestown, see the giant pile of concrete that's destroyed the road and constantly dragging mud out on the road, you'll know what I'm talking about. So do you have plans on maintaining the roadway? You're going to have a street sweeper that's going to clean the roads? Because I know you're going to be pulling from the back of the site, but you're going to pull dirt out on the roadway.
We do have a sweeper for our machine, one of our machines, but if we ever were to do this, to do the concrete, bring in the material in, we've actually looked into a truck wash station that the trucks would pull through, and it would wash all the tires, and just like, I don't know if anybody's been to a gravel pit, but same kind of situation. So
You drive by a gravel pit, even the landfill on 421, there's still waste coming out onto the roadways some. Not a lot, but there is some.
421 doesn't have
All this equipment that's going to be running at 7 o'clock in the morning, like your skid steers, mini X's, even some of your farm equipment, it's going to have backup beepers on it, even your commercial trucks. What's the decibels on those backup beepers? Because those can carry a pretty good ways. I know you're concerned about the noise of the equipment, but to be honest with you, I hear the backup beepers on heavier equipment quicker than I do the diesel engines or anything like that. And then my other concern, let's see here. I had a few notes here, bear with me. The drainage easements, I would want to have confirmation from both Hamilton and Boone County that those are active, if they are active county drains, that they're maintained and they're not cut. Farmers in the area still need those drainage access points and so forth. So a confirmation from the Hamilton Boone County surveyor's office would be definitely a condition if we even got that far with this. So for me at least. Like I said, I'm really struggling with the description that you have given me to not see this as a clean fill site in 5 years down the road. That's where I'm having that's my biggest challenge here. Because if we go to if in my mind I see this as a clean fill site, you don't meet or standard number 2 of affecting landowner or neighboring landowners' property values. Nobody wants to live by a clean fill site. So I'm just, like I said, I think what you're asking for is probably maybe larger than what you're doing currently, but from my standpoint, this looks more down the road potentially being a clean fill site than it does a landscaping center. So,
Further questions for the petitioner?
Can I respond to that he just asked?
Certainly.
Well, it was explained to us that we had to talk about what we wanted to do going forward, 5, 10, 15 years from now. That's why we put all the big equipment in and all the possibilities of what this could be. Brad is not going to make any money. Wilkins Landscaping is not going to make any money if that product is just sitting there. They make money by turning it into something that the next person's going to buy and it's going to move. Even in their soil that they have brought in, it's screened, put into the hoop houses, and then it's gone. So they're very successful commercial and residential landscaping business, they don't make money if that material sits there. And I don't mean to speak out of turn, but I don't think there's any intention of piling things up and leaving it. They may make a pile and then knowing that there's another concrete load coming and sometime,
Are you
crushing it all at the
intending
same
on
time.
selling crushed concrete?
Not now.
But crushed concrete doesn't get, I don't think you use that in, is it used in landscaping, crushed concrete? Because I'm envisioning like different grades of mulch and topsoil and so forth, but I didn't realize crushed concrete was used in landscaping.
So we put it under retaining walls for one thing. Under concrete, we do, as a as a landscape contractor, we do pour concrete. We put it under that. We do put in driveways, we use it for that. So we do use it in our landscape business.
And you would sell it.
I'm not sure. I know it's used for
Understand.
fill dirt or for fill, and that's about all I know it's used for, so.
Further questions? I think we have some people here in the room, and there may be some people online. If you would just take a seat, and we'll circle back with you here. We have some people who have signed up to speak. If you would like to speak either in favor or oppose this petition, I have Elizabeth Haynes is first. If you could give your name and address and brief comments, please, for the record.
My name is Elizabeth Haynes, and I live at 11725 East, 100 North Sheridan. And I did attend the meeting that the prospective buyers of the property held November 20th for them to inform us of their intentions for their business. And I truly believe in their statement that they want to be good neighbors and understand that this is not exactly what neighbors would like to have around them. I did come out of that meeting with the main takeaway that there was no definitive plan yet on the retail side of the business. And excuse me, I wrote this the day after the meeting, so I'm going to combine both of their petitions in my statement, if that's all right. Okay. Bradley stated that they really didn't know if the mulch in the concrete material business would be profitable, and if it wasn't, they would give up on that. If given a retail exemption in an ag zone at this time, who is to say that the next person who purchased the property would be able to sell something else? I do have some concerns on the mulch. The prospective owner, the prospective buyers mentioned they want to have bulk mulch sales in the future and sell mostly to landscaping contractors who would come in with trucks to purchase the product. It was stated that they would bring brush to the property and grind it up once a month for their landscaping projects. It was also stated that they would bring in mulch that has been processed from trees that have been removed from development sites, and this would be dyed on site. My question to you is, can you put a qualifier on the length, width, and height of these piles, which is something Mr. Fedor just alluded to? And is the production of mulch really necessary in our particular area when we have a mulch producer close by on 500 East? The concrete. And when I first heard of this crushing the concrete, I thought, this doesn't sound like an agricultural product to actually bring the concrete in and pulverize it, but from what I'm hearing, it must be an ag product. They want to bring in the concrete to the site and pulverize it for landscaping use. It was mentioned they would use water to control the dust during the pulverization, but the noise level is a concern. It was stated It was not stated how often this would be happening on the pulverization. Again, what restrictions would be placed on these piles? We already have an unsightly mountain of concrete at the border of rural Zionsville at 650 East and State Road 32, which has already been mentioned. The noise. I am not convinced that a concrete pulverizer working 400 feet away sounds like a refrigerator running, which Bradley mentioned at the meeting. And as far as the information given on the decibel levels of the other equipment, I question their validity. The chart that was online is AI generated. AI is not always accurate. You need a human being. And so what I think is needed is DBA testing, or its data be used as it is more accurate as to what people perceive as sound. And noise does travel quite far in the country. I live on 10 acres, and you hear it, you hear it. It is my hope that this committee will protect us in the future as to what size equipment will be allowed as far as their business continues to grow and grow. Will the grinder machines get larger? What are we going to, how are we going to be protected? And, you know, from the mulch, the concrete, and those noises. They mentioned that they do snow removal, and they have salt on site where that business takes care of, but it was mentioned that possibly in the future they might bring their salt there. Is this a landscaping product? The hours of operation were just mentioned, and, you know, they need to be reasonable of how long a machine is going to run in our area. And for those reasons, the concerns that I've just stated, you know, I really object to this exception to intensify this current proposal. And I also object to the retail variance at this time, as there is really no definitive, solid plan for their retail vision. As was stated, he's not sure it would work out.
Thank you, Ms. Haynes.
Thank you.
Thank you. Gary Shugart? Give your name and address for the record, please.
My name's Gary Shugart. We live at 650 North, 1200 East. My wife and I have been at 650 North, 1200 East since 1987. This area has been a residential farming area all the time that we've been there and before. We and our neighbors, the Chandlers, which are right beside, they're in between us and 526. We have observed over the years, and the other neighbors in the area have observed over the years, that there's not very much activity at this site. We observed 3 to 4 work vehicles, 3 to 4 personal vehicles, and 3 to 4 pieces of equipment. That's our observations. That's what we saw. It has been a quiet and not very much traffic coming in and out of that site during that time. The building that is proposed to be built, I would have to agree that the picture of the building that is proposed is more appealing than the current structure. I would also assume that if a building is to be built for an office, that it would also be more modern, therefore being consistent with all the buildings that are being built within eyesight of the property. Hoop houses are not consistent with other buildings in this area. And without a better word, they are ugly. They're add to this, in that area where the staging places will be, piles of large boulders or rocks, small piles of dirt, piles of mulch, landscaping debris, landscaping materials, and plant materials. Those were all listed in, except for the boulders, I think, were all listed in the material that you have. Add that, I'm sorry, and it is stated that they will average, they do average 1,000 truckloads per year. You add that to their desire to start crushing concrete, so there would be more loads to be coming into the site above that 1,000 average. For every truckload coming into this property, there will be at least one going out. It quite possibly could be more because of a smaller truck coming in to get a smaller load. If a triaxle brings one in and you bring a single axle out, you got to have more single axles going out than you do triaxles coming in. So there could be more than 1,000 loads going out. This is just moving the product that they use for landscaping. Add to that the vehicle traffic for the employees coming to and from work during the day, in the morning and in the evening. There's more vehicular traffic then. And then the vehicular traffic that they mentioned that through the day, that once they get their work equipment and go out, they could come back and go back out again. So there's more traffic coming in and out of the property. Add to this the retail request, and then your information that you had, it said farm and garden supply. That may have been already be debunked, but what does that mean? And does that open the door for, what does that open the door for in the future if it's a garden and supply, if it's stated as such? So now you add the retail sales traffic onto all the other traffic coming in and out of the place, then I think it does show that it does intensify greatly what has been there over the last 20 years. So our neighbors and I and my wife, we just ask please to deny the request.
Thank you, Mr. Sugar. Tim Wilson?
Tim Wilson, 9015 East 200 South. It's great to see you all again, and I'm happy that I'm not the fish in the barrel tonight. So I thought I would come and support Tanya and Brad. Change is hard, folks, but change is inevitable. And I've done business with Brad and Tanya for 10 months, and we have just embarked on another arrangement to finish out my property and with his landscaping business. And they have been solid individuals and been really true to their word in every time that I've asked for something. And so when I think about this, it really is, and after watching the other BZA with the previous landscaper and being denied, I get fearful for small business in Zionsville and not a lot of commercial in the tax revenue side. And so I'm really here to support Brad and Tanya from a small business perspective, because I think it's important for Zionsville to be diversified rather than going to Lowe's for everything, to be using some local small businesses to get their landscaping done. Zionsville and this nation need small businesses to survive, and most of the small businesses are just like Brad's and mine. They're less than 10 employees. And it's a lot of heavy lifting. It's a lot of expense to go through these processes, and he's committed to go ahead and do everything that you guys have asked. And so we can't save all the farmland from development, but we can bend it in a good direction, and this feels like a good direction. And Brad has had a successful landscaping business for a long time, and this is a constructive way to use the land, especially in the airport area, because it's loud. I have the jets flying over my property. I'm west of the Indianapolis Executive Airport all day long. And just to close in on the hoop houses, we use hoop houses in farming. We do. We use them to cover our grain and our hay and our feed and everything else. So it's not like hoop houses are a new thing to ag. I'm just asking for you to support small business and to support these variances
Thank
so
you,
that small businesses can survive.
Thank you, Mr. Wilson. Mitch Thompson?
Good evening. Thank you for the opportunity to speak. Mitch Thompson. We have property at 11722 East 100 North and 11634 East 100 North. Appeared before this very board about 3 years ago asking for a variance for our property, which was denied as well. We're here to speak in terms of opposition to this request for a few various reasons. I don't want to repeat everything that has been said, so I'll just kind of hit some of the highlights of our concern. The increased traffic, as stated, is of concern to us, and mainly because of the roadway deterioration that would occur. And then there's already an existing dangerous intersection at 32 and County Line Road that would be significantly impacted by this increased traffic. So in my opinion, there is a harm to public safety just due to the traffic and the intersection that needs addressed at some point. The noise is also something of concern to us, although we live about a half-mile away, and we weren't invited to the meeting, but we're not adjacent to the property. But I know from a past life about the concerns around sound and how it does travel. And so while we live in the airport area, which we are well aware of and supportive of, we would be concerned about the various different sound, and using AI that you can't really explain how it got the numbers would be a significant concern to me, but rather would want to see testing that's done on site, not only how the sound impacts on site, but how the sound impacts the entire area in terms of the noise and the timing of that. And then quite simply, it's just outside the use development of that area, which is why on the 100 acres that we have, we wanted to build a home in a wooded area, but was denied because of the zoning that was in place because of the airport study. So we moved our home onto our farmland so that we could build and support our father-in-law there. So, and we even had to sign a right to farm. So what we expect is additional farming. The other issues that I would have is that there's just not a consistent, precise, this is what we're going to do. And until things are more solid in what the intentions are, I think there should be a pause hit on this. For example, even if you do agree and pass this with the noise and the equipment use brands, the exact equipment that's there, who's going to monitor that? You can't put it on the police department. That's not realistic. You can't expect planning and zoning or code enforcement to go out and inspect that. And so it just kind of goes by the wayside, and then things continue to grow and get out of hand before you know it. There's just too many unknowns in the future that we think it should be solidified before approval. While we do support local business, our family owns a small business itself. We just think this needs to be a little bit more carefully thought through before it's approved.
Very much.
Thank you.
Thank you for your comments, Mr. Thompson. Do we have anybody online who would like to comment? No? Okay. Okay. I'm sorry, say it again? Give me 1 second. Okay. Thank you. Is it Mr. Heiswinkle?
Am I unmuted now?
We're hearing you.
Okay, good. This is John and Chris Haswinkle. We live 11615 East, 100 North, and we own property adjacent to the current property under proposal here. We are opposed to the variances requested here for as reasons as stated previously. the noise, the traffic, the change in the piece of ground that is currently farmed. And when we attended that meeting November 20th, I believe it was Tanya said, if I lived where you folks live and a business was coming in like this, I would be opposed to it. So I thought that spoke volumes to us. If they want to continue doing a business like is currently run, I think that would be fine, but it just sounds like they're wanting to change things a lot, and we're not opposed to small business. We're just opposed to all that they're asking for. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Haswinkle. Anyone else would like to speak? Okay, please. If you'd give your name and address at the podium, please.
My name is Mitchell Aaron. I'm the current property owner of the address. What I would say, one, I've got my qualms about even having to be here because I did my due diligence 25 years ago when I bought this property. And my understanding at the time was it went with the land. So I feel like we're jumping through a whole set of hoops here for me to protect my investment that I made 25 years ago that I'm now trying to sell, which I understand times change, stuff changes. You can't control everything. My first thing would be, over the last 25 years, I can count on 0 fingers the times that I've had a neighbor come up to me with a problem. Correct. None whatsoever. And I do the same thing. A little bit smaller, yes, but the neighbors are trying to downplay what I've done for the last 25 years to make it sound like I didn't even exist. And that's not the case. Yes, the retail's a little different. The crushing concrete and stuff's a little bit, but Brad said, you know, I'm not gonna roll in there and do that tomorrow. This is a giant investment for him and his family. Amen. To try and do this. And stuff changes. And I've been good while I was out there. I bought it, I jumped through the hoops, I did what I was supposed to. Now I'm trying to move on to a different part of my life. And I think that they're being upfront, which 9 out of 10 people come in here aren't gonna be. Good people. And if it's not his land, it's still my land, and I can do what I wish with it.
They're third generation.
I'm sorry, if you're going to speak, you need to approach the podium and give your name and address.
Jen Aaron, same address.
Could you get to the mic, please?
Jen Aaron, same address. Brad and his wife are amazing. They really are. They're third generation. We had opportunity to our neighbors to sell it to more agricultural and to do residential. Do you guys want lots of people living in your area?
Sorry,
You don't.
if you would address the board and not
Yeah.
other people in the room, please.
So here's the dealio. We chose Brad and his wife and his family and his business. We did. And you guys need to understand that we want to keep it local. We're business people. That's the goal of the whole thing, isn't it? They're not going to do concrete tomorrow. They're not going to do mulch tomorrow. They want to move their small business to a larger place. That's the whole reason. They're out of space. They
I
need to
understand.
keep going.
All right,
So
thank you.
please take this under consideration. Thank you.
All right, thank you for your input.
Yes.
Thank you. Discussion? Is there anything else that you would like to say before we? Okay, if you would.
So, me and my wife were also investors. We own a bunch of real estate. And, you know, I look at this property and I go, is somebody really going to buy this to farm it? You can't make money doing that anymore. Is somebody really going to buy this to put a house on it? Who's going to live by the airport? I get it, people have chosen to, but I don't think people are gonna spend $1.5 million to go live by this airport and build their dream and their trophy. My
Especially
opinion.
with drainage.
Then there's the drainage issues, and that's a huge issue all on its own that I know that was a issue on the board, but we've actually already got approval from Hamilton County, which it's their drain, and Boone County, if there is the Boone County drain, which everybody I talk to says they don't think there is there. We would have to dig it up and make sure there's not, or if there is. If there is, we know what we have to do to fix that. We have to get inspections on the fix to be able to drive over it. So I know there was some worry about drainage, but that's not a drainage issue, or that's not a worry for Hamilton County. But I just look at this property and say I don't buy it. I mean, honestly, no big deal. I'll move on. There will be something else. But what are you going to do with this property? It's honestly, like, no offense to Aaron's, but this property isn't worth anything if it's not doing something like what we're doing. Maybe to a hog farmer. I come from a farming community. I don't know if they would want hogs out there or what, but, I'm trying to do something that's actually going to make it look better too. And I care about it. It's not that I just want to run my operation and not care about the neighbors. And I want to work with them. If they have suggestions on, hey, you know what? I see when you are doing this, can you plant me some trees here? Absolutely. If it's not in the drain, I'll do whatever. That was one of the reasons we had that meeting was, what can we do? This is not only what we're wanting to do, but what can we do also to make this, if it does go through, that you're happy with it, or that you get a little bit of something with it. So, but my biggest question my biggest reason for coming back up here is, look at this property. I mean, not saying there's not, but there's very limited space to build a house. And somebody really going to buy 25 acres to do that? I'm not saying it doesn't happen in Zionsville, but it's not everybody's just going to afford that kind of a property to do that.
Thank you, Mr. Payton.
Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Smith, I have a question for you. Currently, on that property, there is a landscaping business, is that correct?
Yes, ma'am.
And the reason we're here this evening is because what is being contemplated is it's an intensification of that activity on that piece of property. In other words, it could continue in a less intense way as is without a special exception. Is that right, or am I wrong?
Yeah, so when this originally started, we took a look at, the owner was kind enough to provide a list of his operations on site. Unfortunately, for whatever reason, the county, when they were approving these 20 years ago, there wasn't a whole lot of detail in their meeting minutes and stuff like that. So as far as what the county approved specifically, we had very little information. So we went to the owner. The owner provided us with a list of things that he's currently doing on site. And in the absence of information from the county, that was the best that we had for what was currently operating on the site. And then we looked at what they were proposing to see if it was apples to apples, and it was determined that it wasn't, both in terms of use, but also in terms of development. And so if it wasn't apples to apples, then we needed to come to you guys to get approval for it. And they've said tonight, some of the stuff that they're requesting is, I'm going to use the word expansion or growth. If their business was to relocate, some of the things that they've talked about, they don't currently do. But, if their business is successful, they would like to do in the future. And so taking all of that into account, the best course of action was to come before you and get approval.
So a big part of this petition is aspirational. It's not currently happening. It's aspirational that it may, if I heard in 5 years or 10 years, maybe this will be happening on that parcel. But we have to assume that since it's been specified, we have to take steps to put that in the equation.
Once you approve the use, there's very little we
Right.
can do to regulate the items or the tasks that are operating within that use, right? And they've been kind enough to fully disclose know what they currently do and what they would like to do in the future. And so transparency is always nice when you're coming before the BZA, so that's what they've done.
Or they can make commitments so that are enforceable in the future as well, is that correct?
Yeah, and I think they've indicated that they're willing to commit to certain things. I'll let them speak for their own commitments, but I think they would be willing to do that. And as a BZA, you could list, not commit, you can put conditions, not necessarily
Conditions,
commitments.
I'm sorry, yes.
But the petitioner can willingly offer commitments, but the BZA can put conditions.
Discussion, thoughts?
It's a confusing one because Boone County didn't leave us a lot of detail. This, from what has been described, is a pretty intense use compared to how the property's been used. This and other petitions that have come before us for variances, maybe they should be looking at rezoning and making their arguments there as opposed to zoning variances. I struggle with how to move this forward with the list of things they're asking to do on the property.
Go ahead.
No,
You're ladies first.
It's a difficult one for me too. I'm very pro-business, so very seldomly find me in a big box store. I get a lot of my goods from local farmers, and so I would love to help you expand. The hard one for me is the grinder and the concrete crusher. But I also know with the increased airport traffic, those planes are not quiet. I live in an area that is a flight path lane, and sometimes we literally leave because of the noise. I'm not pro the expansion of that airport. So you've got that noise there regardless. You do have a point there. My question would be, if you guys aren't planning to do some of these things, would you amend some of the things that you were asking for tonight? And if you'd be willing to do that, I'm just curious if you would. The idea of a grinder or concrete crusher going from 7 a.m. to 7 p.m., I mean, that's a lot. And if, like you said, it costs $600,000 for these units, it's only good business that you run that thing all day long, get the use out of it, and get as much business as possible, if you're going to make that huge investment. So to even ask you to put parameters on the use, I think would hurt your business because you got to pay that thing off, So I don't think that's fair of us to ask. That's just my opinion.
Again, I'm going to go back to where I struggle with, first off, I'll say I certainly do support small business. I own one in the community, small ag business. It's hard. It's real hard. And when you have to go through some of these steps, but you didn't understand where we're coming from on this. I'm looking 10, 15 years down the road. This entire thing gets allowed to stockpile dirt, stockpile clean fill products, concrete. We're potentially 15 years from now have a 25-acre pile of concrete out there. So that's my concern. I think I agree with Mr. Hurst. It's a broad ask here that maybe we need to narrow down a little bit. I certainly understand wanting to get it all out right now, be very forthright with it. And I do appreciate it because on the way in here tonight, I drove by 2 landscaping businesses that I know did not get approval for what they're doing. So I do appreciate you coming in and trying to do it the right way. But I think we need a little bit more clarification on what the intent is on basically the stockpiling of the dirt, or the stockpiling of materials is my largest concern. Again, if it's close to the airport, you can build a pretty good pile of dirt 35, 40 feet up in the air. I don't even know if there's height restrictions in the airport area. I think there is for buildings, but I don't know if we have restrictions on piles of dirt.
Well, the other question is just the traffic. I mean, 1,000.
And then you've also got traffic. County Line Road is very busy as it is, but you're talking about a lot more traffic on on a
So-
county road.
It seems to me that part of the problem is that you've created such an aspirational ask that it's hard for us to judge how many of these things are actually going to be on the ground and whether they're even things that are actually going to happen in future. I think you see this as an opportunity to just, create, this is our dream, and let's ask for everything that's included in our dream. And some of it may be, 5 years from now, you may ask yourself, why did I even say I was going to do that? Because it doesn't make sense for me to do it. So I don't know if it's possible for you to step away, rethink, what you think is the things that you want to do on this property, or if perhaps you're pretty invested in this idea and you're hard and fast in this. So that's really up to you. But I think what you're hearing from us is it's hard for us to know, once this is granted, you have permission to do whatever it is you're saying you're going to do without a lot of control over that. And that's, a pretty big ask for your neighbors also. If you decide at some point that one concrete crusher is not enough, you need two or whatever, and then it becomes an even bigger problem. So I don't know what your thoughts are. Please. I don't know if
So I think the biggest thing is, from what I'm hearing, is the concrete crushing is a huge worry, right? Somebody said that it's an expensive piece of equipment. You'd only want to run it all day long to get your worth out of it. I'm not sure there's enough concrete to do that.
Well, to be fair, I'm not sure that that's the only question. I mean, I
No,
think there
I
are
agree.
other things as well. That's one thing
Yeah.
that has been brought up along with the traffic and stockpiling and so on. So that's just
Yeah.
one part of the discussion.
Understand. I'm just trying to answer that question.
understand.
I can answer them one at a time, as if you guys want, whatever. But, so I think everybody knows Shelby Material out on 30, Mulebarn Road. They're a concrete company. I pour concrete. I poured concrete today. We sent back, yesterday we poured concrete. I sent back 3 yards to the plant. All of that concrete gets dumped out in their lot. They have hundreds of trucks going in and out every day doing that, dumping the extra, washing everything out of the truck that is extra. They crush about once every 2 months, and it is a huge pile. I mean, crazy, the size of half of this property. And it's probably 50 foot tall, if I had to guess. They crush that in like a week. So this isn't something that even they run 24/7.
Right.
So I would say if we crush concrete 5 days a year, I would be surprised, to be honest with you. So the same with the mulch, the same with, the topsoil. I mean, I get the concerns, I really do. My goal isn't to make it some unsightly ordeal. I don't know, I know I want to, you guys were trying to get me fit in a barrel and say, hey, how big is this going to be? I don't know, because I've never done it before. I wish I knew, and that's why I say this whole thing could be a flop, but we were told by Jonathan and the board when we met with them, not the board, the planning department and everybody, put everything you ever think you'll want to do on this. So I'm sorry it is so broad, but that's what we were actually told to do. So I can only do what I'm told. But I think a lot of these concerns are a little bit overexcited. I mean, we're not crushing concrete every day. If I was in it right now, there's not enough concrete in Indiana to crush every day for.
I understand. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Payton.
If there's any other questions, happy to, while I'm up here, answer them for you.
Okay. Thank you.
I think another thing to be told and said about the traffic is, you guys are well aware, as well as anyone in this room, we've all seen the growth. Westfield, Zionsville, 32 is going to be widened. We will all see it go to a 4-lane just like it is through Westfield. So that's, I'm sure, within the 10 to 15-year plan. So as far as traffic increasing, it's going to increase regardless of if we're there or not.
I understand. Thank you.
Any other questions?
No, I think, are we?
And
I would be willing to grant them a continuance for 30 days to try to tighten down some of this. And I'm looking at the site plan that they presented to us. It's more of a square or a rectangle, and the lot is actually looks like I'm having trouble with the definition of the lot sizes. Just maybe to tighten down a little bit on what their plans are here. Because as it stands right now, as much as I hate to say it, I'm not for this. But I would be, I don't know, does anyone else have the stomach or thought of doing a continuance on it, or? If not, I mean, that's where I'm at, with it, I should
open to
say.
that, Josh, but I don't know if
Yeah.
you guys are even open to having conversation, refining it. Like Kathy said, you know, this may be it for you.
what would that look like? We come back and we tell you, we need X amount of area to do this or that. I mean, what exactly would you be looking for us to do?
I think what you could be hearing here is that when you put everything that you could ever want to do into a proposal, and I understand why they would encourage you to do that, because that would be able to, you'd be able to grow if you wanted to grow, and also we'd be able to know what you were going to be doing or what you might be doing on that property as we look to the future, and what the impact is going to be on the environment around you and your neighbors and so on. But it may be that you need to think about all those things that you put in there and think, am I really going to want to do that down the road? Is that something I'm going to want to do on that property or not? And, you know, it could be that thinking about it a little more, you might decide that, you know, this is not really a part of the business that I want to include, or, you know, you might want to make some adjustments. So that's all I think that you're hearing from us. As it is, it's going to be tough, I think. Yeah. Do you have any thoughts? No? Good? No?
I think maybe another way to say what I think the board is saying is that it might be worth thinking about, is there anything about the future scope that you're willing to limit in order to make the proposal more favorable to the board? So that's a different way of saying the same thing, but maybe the way to think about it.
Much more articulate way of saying it.
In order to lower the potential impacts, you know, the various uses. So you've heard a lot of feedback tonight about concerns, but I think that's the way to think about the question.
Thank you.
I can give a little context for you as far as the outline of the parcel, the size and that thing. So the overall proposal is for the entire 25 acres encompassing. What happened, or what I believe happened, was the 25 acres were split into two parcels. I think 2 acres, you can correct me if I'm wrong, was going to be dedicated to the development of a house, which 5 acres.
We split 5 acres out to the house, took about half the road frontage, and then we did it up.
So in order for the map to reflect one parcel of 25 acres, they would need to go back to the county. Staff unfortunately doesn't have the ability to update the lines on the GIS system. That's a county task. If you want the map to look like one nice square 25 acres, we would need to merge those two back together, which could be done if the owner wanted to do that. But that would have to be a task that the county would do, which is why it looks different than what you're seeing.
Yeah, I'm just a little bit more clarification on what we're looking at here.
So, thoughts about next steps, so we can move ahead here?
I'm not particularly in favor of a continuance, but if others are.
Question for petitioner is, if we would grant you a continuance, if you'd go back to the podium, please, I have one more question for you. Thank you. If you were granted a continuance, would you be willing to work with the Jonathan and the planning folks to see about perhaps tailoring a bit your petition your requests? Or is this it, and you would like to stay with this?
I mean, honestly, I think what it comes down to is, that question really is, are you willing to not crush concrete? Are you willing not to bring brush in and grind brush? And are you willing not to bring dirt in and do dirt? I'm not. If that's the deal breaker, there's no reason to continue it, because those are things that if I'm making this big of a purchase, I need to be able to do those one day possibly. So, I mean, honestly, it kind of just is a deal breaker.
Okay.
So,
All right, thank you.
yep, thank you.
Mr. Payton.
I'm willing to make a motion if we're ready then,
Okay.
or if there's more discussion.
Anybody else have anything else to add? Thoughts? Okay.
I move that docket 2025-38-SE special exception to permit the use of a landscaping contractor in the rural general agricultural AG zoning district at 526 North, 1200 East be denied as presented and described.
Thank you, Mr. Brewer. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Thank you, Mr. Hurst. Further discussion? Mr. Dale, will you take roll, please?
Josh Fedora,
Aye.
Jim Hurst,
Aye.
Kathy Postlethwaite,
Aye.
Amanda Miller.
Aye.
Motion passes.
Sorry.
There is the other petition 39, right?
Yes, so we still,
Ask Jonathan.
Jonathan, the second petition,
It's my understanding that the second petition was contingent on the first one, and they left. I'm not 100% sure what. I would look to Dan Taylor on that. They submitted for 2 use variances. The larger of the operation was the special exception for the landscape business, and I think that was contingent. I think the retail component was contingent on their business being able to be located there.
Could we try to catch them, maybe take a brief recess? And I'd rather have clarity and make sure they're not just stepping out for a powwow.
thank you, Jonathan.
I think you're probably right, Jonathan, but I'd like to make sure if we
Right.
can. In fairness.
I think that's good, yeah. I,
He's young, he'll be all right.
imagine that they,
Is he a runner?
I can't,
We're going to find out.
I can't imagine,
back and say, you told me to catch
I can't imagine that they went,
That far.
got that far in such
answer to your question, but I will let y'all decide.
I think maybe we should vote to withdraw the petition. Is that?
There you go.
Is that
Sounds good to me.
sound good for you? So,
Maybe a motion to dismiss since they're not here would be
yeah.
better.
So,
Did they tell
Perhaps-
us, did they say that they were dismissing?
no, they're,
Yeah, there may be some other folks that would like to leave that feel uncertain that they can leave.
yeah.
Get the authorities to escort.
I'm just saying that if they did not say they're withdrawing, then a motion to dismiss the case would be the appropriate action.
Petition, yeah.
Yeah, I think some folks here
Yeah,
are
we're
concerned about
Worried
what's
about
going on in
the
the,
people that are here who spoke, who might be worried about leaving because of the,
Oh, we can call security.
Yeah.
We'll call security.
Just
I'm sorry,
bear with us.
misunderstood.
yeah, that's okay. It's, yeah. So I think perhaps the board should have a motion to dismiss petition 2025-39-UV.
I move we dismiss that petition.
Thank you,
Second.
Mr. Hurst. Thank you, Ms. Fedora. Is there any discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Any opposed? Good. That petition is dismissed.
You need y'all.
Okay. All right. So the next item on our agenda is docket number 2025-41-DSV. Andrew Mulder, Development Standards Variance. Is Mr. Mulder with us here in the room? Yes, okay, good. Well, we'll first have the staff report, and then Mr. Mulder will ask you to appear virtually, and you'll have your opportunity to present. Mr. Smith, are you ready?
Yes, ma'am. Give me 1 second here. There we go. I'm ready. Okay, this is a development standard variance, specifically section 194-169, table 16, which is our rural sign regulations. This business, if you remember, it's been a few months now, we approved a Goodwill to go at this location. The signage being proposed is the signage for the Goodwill store that has been approved for development and is in the process of being developed. As far as the findings, I guess I'll talk a little bit on the surrounding land uses. Give me 1 second to pull it up. And if you could switch the, there you go, thank you. The surrounding land uses, you'll notice, which is part of our staff analysis, you'll notice that this is part of the Technology Center Park. You'll notice as well that the zoning for 90% of that is I-1, and for some reason, this was not part of that same zoning classification. So just to point that out. What is allowed in this zoning district is 10 square feet of signage. Obviously, the petitioner is proposing signage that exceeds that amount, which is why the variance is required. As far as the approval of a development standard variance, there's 3 criteria that they have to meet. The first, the grant will not be injurious to public health and safety. Staff agrees with the petitioner on this criteria. The petitioner is limited to 1 sign, which they have elected to install in the east building facade, which faces Zionsville Road. This is a busy 4-lane road. Across the street, the property directly east of this site is undeveloped. Although the property is zoned local business, the area surrounding this site is highly developed with multi-tenant buildings located directly north and south, all of which provide a sign for each tenant that exceeds 10 square feet. The property directly north of this site was also granted a variance in 2021 to allow wall signage totaling 107 square feet. As of this writing, staff has not received, actually I need to correct that. We did receive 1 letter of remonstrance, which I have attached to the agenda and shared that with y'all. We did receive 1 letter. At the time of this writing, we had not received any letters. I'm not sure if the person who wrote the letter was a directly adjoining neighbor. However, the sign posted would blend in. The sign proposed would blend in with other signage in the area and is visually proportional to the building facade that was approved by Plan Commission in 2025. Again, public noticing requirements were completed, and we, at the time of this writing, didn't have anybody raising any concerns. For that reason, we felt item number 1 was addressed and was met. Item number 2, the use or value of the area adjacent to the property included in the variance will not be affected in a substantially adverse manner. Staff agrees with the petitioner on this criteria. The parcels directly northwest and south of the site are developed, all of which, again, have signs that exceed 10 square feet. The petitioner's sign would blend in with other signs in this area. Adjoining properties are not anticipated to be adversely affected. The request would not change the use of the property, nor would it infringe on the ability of surrounding properties to continue their business operations. Again, this was wrote prior to receiving the letter we got today, but the surrounding neighbors were notified of this request, and as of the writing, we were not notified of any concerns. Barring objections raised during the public hearing, staff believes this criterion was met. Item number 3, strict application of the zoning ordinance would result in unnecessary hardship in the use of the property. Staff agrees with the petitioner on this criteria. We define unnecessary hardship as all relevant factors taken together indicate that land involved cannot yield a reasonable return because of unique circumstances. Unnecessary hardship justifying the grant of a variance cannot be based on a self-created condition. Mere showing of economic loss is not sufficient. In this case, staff believes there are 2 unique circumstances creating hardship. The first is the zoning of the surrounding properties. The second is the property's inclusion in the Northwest Technology Center subdivision. The 2 parcels at the corner of Zionsville Road were the only parcels in this area zoned LB. The remaining are zoned I-1, which would allow for the proposed sign without needing any variances. If this parcel was zoned to match the surrounding properties, the petitioner will be allowed to cover up to 20% of the east building facade with wall signage, which would equate to 360 square feet. Again, just to reiterate, if this was zoned as the other parcels in this subdivision, they would be allowed to cover up to 20 square feet of the building, which is 360 square feet. This puts the property at a disadvantage, limiting them to 1 sign totaling 10 square feet, while surrounding sites are allowed multiple wall signs that cover up to 20% of the building facade. Additionally, this property is Lot 7 of the Northwest Technology Center development. Of the 13 parcels in this subdivision, Lot 7 and 7A were the only parcels zoned LB. 7A received a variance to allow for wall signage totaling 106 square feet. The other parcels are zoned I-1, which allows for uniform development standards. If this property is restricted to sign regulations applicable to LB, the sign in this site will not match the other signs in this development. For these reasons, staff believes this criteria was met. The petitioner's findings are Exhibit 5 if you would like to review those. But in summary, staff believes this petition meets all 3 criteria for approval. I'm happy to answer any questions you have.
Thank you, Mr. Smith. Are there questions for staff about this petition? No. Mr. Mulder? Mr. Mulder, if you're with us, would you, you're on. Oh, please, absolutely. Yes, thank you. Yeah, if you would just give your name and address, okay?
Thank you. I'm Amy Nooning, and I'm with Denton's at 10 West Market Street, Indianapolis. My colleague Kyle Restateris, who couldn't be here, and I both represent the petitioner, Goodwill, and we have with us another representative from Goodwill, Bryce Clendenning, and he's the project manager here also to answer any questions. So I'll keep this very brief, not to reiterate everything that Jonathan said, but we echo everything that was in his staff report. This project has been before the board a couple of times before and has received 2 variances from the development standards. So this is the very last piece that is required before the store can open. So we would respectfully propose that granting this variance to allow Goodwill to construct their one approximately 170 square foot sign on their building facade would not cause any harm and would allow it actually to match all the other signs in this highly developed Northwest Technology Center and provide the appropriate vehicular visibility for this store in this area. So we're available for any questions if you have any.
Thank you. Questions for the petitioner?
No.
I have one. What's the formula used to calculate the size of the sign for this facade?
That might be a good question.
Is there
for you.
science here, or is this a standard? Please, if you give your name and address, please.
I'm Bryce Clendenning. The address would be 1635 West Michigan Street in Indianapolis, representing Goodwill. So I think what Jonathan said was it's calculated on the square footage of that facing portion of the building. And so we would be, if we match the others, it would be a 300 and something square foot sign.
So this zoning district that Goodwill is in isn't a percentage, it's just a flat number, it's 10 square feet. But the rest of the subdivision, the rest of the Technology Center Park, is zoned I-1, yeah, I-1. And that zoning district that's applicable to the rest of the subdivision is a percentage of the wall face, right? And so you would take 20%, I don't have that calculation in front of me, but I did the math, and it was 360 feet, I put it in the staff report. So had the subdivision had a uniform zoning to allow for uniform signage, they would be looking at a percentage of the wall face rather than a flat 10 square feet.
I see.
Make
Okay.
sense?
Yes, absolutely. Thank you. Other questions for the petitioner or the representative?
I just had I was just curious, is there anything, other buildings along Zionsville Road there on the other side of the freeway that or have the same, that weren't included in that, I guess, in that same, or I guess zoned differently? I'm just wondering if they had if there was a reason as to why Zionsville Road was, Zionsville Road facing buildings were zoned differently, or if this is just a bit of an anomaly.
Yeah, I couldn't find,
Okay.
I couldn't find why. I had the same question.
Okay.
I did not look on the other side of the interstate. I didn't really take that into account. I was just more focused on this subdivision.
I was just curious.
Yeah, sorry about that.
Something that's lost in the mists of time, probably. Decision.
Well, this is another project that is, I learned here as a BZA member, probably should have pushed them more for zoning changes than variances, because they've had to come in front of here a lot. And my guess is they would have had a reasonable hearing on a zoning change, given the surrounding zoning of the property. But live and learn, and they're having to come back now. And forgive me if I missed it as part of your answer. What, from Goodwill's standpoint, drives the size request on this sign? Is there a standard by Goodwill? And forgive me if you answered that earlier. I try to read and listen sometimes, and it doesn't work.
Yeah, I don't believe there's a formula that we use. It's just based on the size of that canopy and then just general appearance within that space. So that's
There's not a corporate rule or something like that that goes along with it?
No.
There are some brands that they're very, very specific, and I didn't know if that was the case with Goodwill. All right, thank you.
Do we have anybody else online who wants to speak? Okay. All right, thank you. Thoughts, ideas, resolution?
I agree with Jim. They may have been, sometimes a rezone might be easier. Not that I want to push it off of the planning commission, but I don't see a problem with this. It complies with everything in that area, and it's grown rapidly in that area. So I don't have a problem with it.
So do we have a motion? Are we in agreement to
Sure.
make a motion?
I move that docket 2025-41-DSV Development Standards variance for one wall sign on the east building facade totaling 169.78 square feet for the property located at 5900 West 96th Street B. Conditionally approved as presented and described based on the findings of the staff report, staff recommendations. Oh, wait a minute. I'm sorry, approved as presented and described based on the findings in the staff report, staff recommendations, submitted findings of fact, substantial compliance with the submitted site plans and evidence presented during the hearing.
Thank you, Mr. Fedora. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you. Any further discussion? Mr. Dale, if you'd take the roll, please.
Josh Gore.
Aye.
Amanda Miller.
Aye.
Jim Hurst.
Aye.
Kathy Postlewaite.
Aye.
Motion passes.
Thank you. It's granted. Thank you very much. Thank you for hanging in there this evening. So we have nothing else on our agenda.
We still have, how did you dispose of 39?
Oh, we dismissed it.
You dismissed it.
Yes, we
While
dismissed
you
it.
were, while you were providing vital security
Security.
and national security and protection.
So if you will indulge me for a moment, this is my last meeting. And so I just wanted to say how much I've appreciated working with the staff. I've already shared this with them, but it has been one of the most gratifying things I have done. And I really appreciate the competency. Even with this evening's events, I think that we demonstrate a consistency in how we apply the rules, thoughtful, listening strategy, which I think is really important for the town. And I'm hoping that the BZA will continue to do that. I will be checking the agenda, and you may see me out there sometime. And I'm going to know just what to say when I show up, too. So just keep that in mind.
Kathy, the town of Zionsville owes you a gratitude for your service.
Thank you.
And you've done a fine job.
Thank you.
Kathy, this isn't your first time on the BZA either. You've served a previous term in the past, haven't you?
I served for a very short term.
Short term, but
Yeah.
the town owes you a tremendous debt of gratitude. As a resident of the town, thank you. You'll be missed on this board as well.
I'm going to really miss the $30 that I get every month.
And Kathy, just on a personal note, I've learned a lot from you and your leadership here of the BZA and how you handle things, including some things tonight, and admire your style and appreciate the opportunity to have worked with you.
Well, thank you. And it even got my husband here, so he's sitting out there.
He looks familiar.
So if there's no further business, then we stand adjourned till January.
Happy New Year.
Yeah, Happy New Year.
We went out on